Okay, for 12 years, I've been on social media. And for 12 years, there have been people who have resented some of the things that I've said in regards to the martial arts. Whether this is boxing, whether this is wrestling, karate, MMA, whatever. Now, that resentment didn't come out of the uh, fact that they wanted to learn to defend themselves or that they were interested in someone who was very honest about the martial arts. It didn't come out of that. It came out of a certain resentment that did many times have flashes, if not outward proof, of racist resentment. And I could always see this when I criticized Joe Rogan, who really is not respected really by any combative teacher. Um, and the people who you find, even like a George St. Pierre, who will be on his show, know the kind of pull Joe Rogan has, so they're cordial to Joe Rogan. Very few people are very honest about Joe Rogan, who have been in the UFC because of his relationship to Dana White. One of the very few people who have been honest about him called him a BJJ penis rider, and that was Rampage Jackson. And that title, vulgar, that title fit Joe Rogan, and he remains so today. For 12 years, I have been right about the martial arts, and I have been right about the effectiveness of different martial arts and what was martial arts with a big M, and what was martial arts with a small m. And the reason is because at 5'7", I have told my students, at 5'7" in my entire life, I have only been in denial for 2 weeks. 2 weeks. From a teenager, from late teens to now, I have been realistic and I have been honest about what really is fighting. What fighting really is. What self-defense really is. And why? Because at my height, there was no time to be self-delusional. For me to be self-delusional, again, I'm not a small man. Like my friend Jack Tosin said, I'm 190 to 200 pounds. Cruiserweight, too small, heavyweight. But because of my height, I made sure that whatever I learned, whatever I trained in, was worth the effort. Now, BJJ still remains the most unethical business in the martial arts today. And I don't mean Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. I mean the American hijacking of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. This is me 10 years ago. 10 years ago. There are none of you little jackleg, BJJ purple belts, brown belts, and black belts who should have the nerve to sit around and say, well, Royce Gracie this, or Hickson Gracie that. Let me tell you something. These people have fought people who weighed as much as 100 pounds more. As much as 100 pounds more than them, and fought them bare knuckle in order to prove or in order to back up what they have said. You haven't done it. You wouldn't do it. And you probably don't know anybody who would do it or has done it. Okay? You owe the Gracies. You owe Hickson. You owe Horion. You owe Royce. That's right, you do. Your idol worshiping of Joe Rogan, your idol worshiping of Eddie Bravo, all that nonsense, let me tell you, and I'll tell you again, Eddie Bravo's not in MMA, baby. Okay? Joe Rogan's not in MMA, baby. All right? You couldn't pour these cats in MMA. You couldn't pour these cats into the places that Royce Gracie, or pour these guys into the places that Hickson Gracie has been in. Do not ever, ever, ever forget that. Okay, now that was me 10 years ago. Now for the same 10 years, I have been talking about pulling guard. For the same 10 years, I have been talking about pulling guard and how dangerous it is to pull guard in the street. How dangerous it is. Okay? Many people, again, who resented the fact maybe that I was a black man, disagreeing with Joe Rogan and disagreeing with other non-black Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu instructors. I mean, just keep it honest. People don't want to talk about the facts. The facts of the matter is that there is still an issue with race in the world, and the one place where there is most an issue with race happens to be in the United States of America. Period. Period. Okay? Now, putting that aside for now, I said, and I have been saying for 12 years, that pulling guard as is emphasized as it is emphasized by the American Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu community, that pulling guard in the street was not the best strategy. Okay? People resented it, but who agreed with me? Who agreed with me? This man.
We're only wasting time by training some kind of techniques. We're going to work only to get medals. And when you get your butt kick on the street, you're gonna regret to have only those ineffective movements training.
I hope somewhere out there when somebody gets beat up after meddling somewhere, you just go, "Told you so."
Yes.
I tried to tell you guys. You pulled guard in the streets, just doesn't work.
Your medal's not gonna work now.
That should be your tagline.
Again, they stall, they hold, so because their vision is the medal. And that
not the street effectiveness.
Yes, so the efficiency to get the medal is different than effectiveness in real life.
So, and one point you have to choose if you want to compete in an event which is going to make you feel better on the street to handle life, or you're going to compete in a tournament who will make you very efficient to get the medal, but I mean, you get your ass kicked anytime on the street, so that's not worth it.
For the same 10 to 12 years, for the same 10 to 12 years, at least a decade, at least 10 years, I have been saying that what you need to be good in MMA, the one belt that you need, the one level that you need to go in mixed martial arts, in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, that one level that you need to go, right, is blue belt. And I have said the reason why you only really need a blue belt and nothing higher, no purple belt, no brown belt, and certainly no black belt, I said. Now, what I want people to do here, if you heard me say any of the things that I'm saying in this video, I want you to come into the forum where this video is going to be posted and tell these people, tell these naysayers, right? Tell these critics, okay, that you heard me say it. Because you know, my subscribers know that what I've been saying, that what I'm saying here that I have been saying, I have indeed been saying for at least 10 years. Now, for at least 10 years, I have been saying that if you look at the cage, if you look at MMA, the most most functional submissions that you see are about 9. I've been saying this for 10 years, at least 10 years, at least been on social media for 12, at least for those 10 years, at least for 10 of those 12 years, I have been a fanatic talking about Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, the hijacking of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and the reality of what Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is for, and how much of it you really need to be good in self-defense, and how much you really need to be good in the cage, in mixed martial arts. I've been saying for at least 10 years that the 9 most popular submissions that you see in the cage at the highest level, because there's only about 9, those 9 submissions are taught at blue belt. I said they were taught at blue belt. Okay? Purple belt and below, but I emphasized at blue belt. And that what you need to get your skill from blue belt to purple belt to brown belt to black belt, not promotion, but skill-wise, the skill of a good purple belt, the skill of a good brown belt, the skill of a good black belt, was to roll, but not learn more techniques. Okay? That blue belt within blue belt, by the time you get to blue belt, you know and you have been taught, if you have a good teacher, you know and you have been taught the most popular and functional and high percentage submissions at blue belt. Okay? And that what you need to get better is simply the practice of those particular techniques until they become second nature, until they become more instinctual. Now, I've said that. And people chasing the purple belt, chasing the brown belt, chasing the black belt disagree with me, but who agrees with me and has agreed with me from the very beginning, that the blue belt has all of the functional submissions and techniques that you need to be a good fighter. And that all that you need after that blue belt, those blue belt techniques, is to practice them. Who agrees with me? This man.
From your coaching, teaching experience, what is the hardest belt move? Is it blue to purple, purple to brown?
Is to get the blue belt.
Really?
Yeah, because
why is that?
Because from white belt you have no idea, and you start to create your reflexes, your understanding. For you to become a blue belt, you definitely have to understand the whole game. You already know how to mount, you already know the chokes, you already know the arm locks, you already know the escapes, you already feel the pressure, you already know how to handle and last longer on the training, how to breathe. So you already become a jiu-jitsu animal as a blue belt. And white belt, you nothing, you just started. And then when you become a blue belt, you know the whole game. You just don't have the practice, the reflexes. So once you are blue belt, just the maintenance will lead you to the black belt.
Okay? Next. For at least 10 years, I have been a critic of the American hijacking of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and taking it from being a self-defense method to making it a sport where people think they're fighting while sliding around on their behind, right? I'm behaving myself today, so I'm not using, the A word, right? Okay, I'm working on that. I'm like a highway. I get irritated and, I'm under construction, right? Okay, it's a growth experience. Okay, I have been saying for at least 10 years, okay? Been on social media for 12, but at least for 10 years, I have been a fanatic trying to tell these mentally ill people, the American Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu community, that Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is first and foremost designed for self-defense. And that they ruined it by making it a sport. And particularly to the degree that they have made it a sport. Now, who agrees with me? Who says that I'm right? This man here.
You come from the old school. How do you feel about those kinds of adaptations?
Martial art in general is not for competition. It's for defend yourself in a street fight situation. If it doesn't work in a street fight, sorry, I won't teach my students.
So are grapplers today better or worse? How do you view the guys out there today competing?
I'm against competition, tournament, point system.
How do you get better then?
You get better by training. Karate, Taekwondo, they are not made to compete, to score a point. It became a tag game. Karate, Taekwondo, all the martial arts were made to defend yourself in a street fight situation by putting them to adding point system and rules and weight division. So that means if somebody pinch your girlfriend on her behind, you're gonna go say, "Hey, honey, hold on, I'll take care of this." "Excuse me, how much do you weigh? What's your belt?" "Really? Sorry, honey, I can't fight this guy because he's not on my division. He's not on my belt." It doesn't work that way.
And coincidentally, I've never seen a Berimbolo work at a high level in MMA. Do you think that's coincidence? The fact that you can see it work all the time at IBJJF tournaments, you almost never see it in like a Bellator or UFC.
It doesn't work. It doesn't. That's what I'm saying. If I can't use in a street fight situation to defend myself, it's not going to work in a fight, forget it. I won't teach my students.
Now, winding down. Let me calm down a little bit. For 12 years, as I've said at least 10, I have said the most despicable martial arts hustle, the most despicable martial arts community, when it comes down to being purely unethical, okay? Being purely ran by myths and lies, okay? I have said there is no more unethical segment of the American martial arts community. In fact, there is no more unethical segment of the world martial arts community than the American Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu cult. And that continues to today. And that can be proven from one of the most despicable recent acts that the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu community pulled off. UFC 300. UFC 300. This is what happened, and once again, it proves for 12 years, at least 10, I have been absolutely right and on point for being perhaps the #1 critic on all social media of the hijacking of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu by the American middle class. Here is proof of how really unethical that segment of the martial arts community is. Here we go.
Look at this.
Oh, they're giving him black
Sharon just gave him his black belt.
See, I never understand this thing.
I don't get it either.
There was no grappling.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Who cares? Give it to him.
Let's see that again.
Look at this.
Oh, they're giving him black
Sharon just gave him his black belt.
See, I never understand this thing.
I don't get it either.
There was no grappling.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Who cares? Give it to him.
Let's hear Joe Rogan again.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Who cares? Give it to him.
The most unethical martial arts community in the world of martial arts. Okay? The American hijacked version of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I don't know. One more time. Here we go.
Look at this.
Oh, they're giving him black
Sharon just gave him his black belt.
See, I never understand this thing.
I don't get it either.
There was no grappling.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Who cares? Give it to him.
See you next video.